Hey guys, what is up? This is Kazi from cleverprogrammer.com and welcome to another episode of Codecademy. This is Codecademy Python tutorial part 19. Alright, so let's get started. Last time we left off on, let's just double check where we left off. So we did, it's not cheating, debugging, you win, danger, not again. So we have made it all the way to test run. We're almost getting completed with our game. Okay, so let's go here and run it. Let's see what happens. So it says make sure you play it a couple of times and try different kinds of incorrect guesses. This is a great time to stop and do some serious debugging. So I encourage you guys to try to debug this on your own as well. Meaning run it and try a bunch of different inputs and see what it gives you. Okay. In the next step, we'll move on and look at how to give the user 4 guesses to find the battleship. Thoroughly test your game. Make sure you try a variety of different guesses and look for any errors in the syntax or logic of your program. So what we'll do is we'll copy all this code, we'll come over here and we'll run it. It tells us that the code is wrong, which it is, because in Python 3 you need to put parentheses after print. Print again, another print, that's wrong. Hopefully every other print is right. Let's check it out. Raw input is not defined because in Python 2, again, it's not raw input, it's just input. It's easier, right? You don't have to say raw input every time. Let's see what other errors are there. Let's run it. Okay, cool. The game ran and it goes, you missed my battleship, you missed my battleship. I don't like this part, right? It says you missed my battleship twice. However, that's good. That's right, because we did miss the battleship. The battleship was located in 4.2. And we took a turn in column 4, row 4 and column 4, which is right over here, right? It's the absolute last one. Just to let you know, it's row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. So we have missed the ship. What do we do? Well, we simply guess again. However, it should be reducing the number of guesses, so eventually you run out of guesses, right? After 4 guesses, you should run out. So try to go ahead and make that part of the game. A hint I'll give you is if things are repeating, it sounds like a loop. So you may have to put the entire thing in some kind of a loop. One suggestion on how to do that is indent everything and then like do like a while loop or like a for loop. Okay, that's just and maybe if while guesses is less than or equal to 4, run the game, run the entire logic of the game, and then maybe decrement the number of guesses every single time you run through the loop, right? So if you haven't guessed correctly, it decrements it by 1. For example, it should be like guesses minus equals 1, or guesses is equal to guesses minus 1, right? This means you're decrementing guesses by 1. Okay, so this is the case here, but it says you missed my battleship twice, and it also marks the spot X, which is good, which is fine. So it either looks like we don't need this, or it looks like we don't need this block right there. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and remove this else statement here. And just move these back and let's check it out and let's see what happens. Whoops. Let's see if this logic is correct or if it's false. Okay, we missed the battleship. It says you missed the battleship and it gave us an X. So we ran the game one time and we guessed something wrong. It gave us perfectly the answer that it should give us. You missed my battleship, and it marked that X that spot with an X. Now let's try guessing something off the board. Okay, we guessed off the board, but it gave us an answer that perhaps we did not want, which is saying list index out of error. Line 32 gave us the error. So this means that when we guess off of the board, that check needs to run before it starts indexing it here on line 32. So what it did is it did 5, 5, and it goes, there's no such list as, there's no such row as board 5. So it just pooped out right over here and gave us an error, which means that we should stop the program before it gets to that line. So I'm gonna put that part here, and I'm gonna put this part here. Okay, so check if you guessed correctly, and if you did, I say congratulations, you sank my battleship. Check if you guessed within the boundaries, and if you did, I said oops, that's not even, if you did guess outside of the boundaries, then oops, that's not even in the ocean. So I'm gonna say else if. Okay, now check if you've already guessed at that spot, and then lastly, just go you missed my battleship and mark that spot with an X. Okay, so I'm just gonna write little comments above here to help you. You know, a lot of the times, don't just think in code because that'll confuse you, right? You'll be like, guess row equal ship row, and guess col equal ship col, and it can get confusing if you have to think like that every single time. Of course, the first few times you have to go through your code, you have to like really strain and squint your eyes and see what's actually happening, but then make a note for yourself, so then when you're thinking about it and you want to go through it quicker, you can just really quickly know in English what it's doing. So that's what I'm going to do. This checks if you guessed correctly, right? That if condition. This checks if you guessed within the 5x5 grid. This checks if you have already guessed in that location. This tells you you missed, and it marks that spot as X. Okay, so in English, you know what each of these if statements and these conditions are doing. Now let's run our code and let's see what happens. 4, it says you missed my battleship, which is what it should do. Let's guess 5. It says oops, that's not even in the ocean. And this time, notice that the entire program did not poop out and gave us a giant red error, freaking out the users and making them run away, making your friends jump off and attack you because they saw a lot of red on the screen, right? Sometimes it can make you, red is not a pleasant color to look at a lot of the times. So avoid getting attacked by friends, and don't freak out your users. Okay, so that's why we catch that condition on line 35 before it goes to line 39 and tries to index it and give an error. The program effectively tells you this and stops right here. Okay, all right, so we have checked it enough times. Let's simply go next. You sunk my battleship. Play it, Sam. You can successfully make one guess in Battleship, but we'd like our game to allow the player to make up to 4 guesses before they lose. Okay, so here they are showing you a loop, and add a for loop that repeats guessing and checking part of your game for 4 turns, like the example above. At the beginning of each iteration, indent everything that should be repeated. Okay, now the important part is to think about what is something that needs to be repeated. So from without thinking about coding and everything, just think about logically, what is something that has to be repeated? What should the user be allowed to repeat? For example, do we need to create the board over and over again? Probably not. So this part of the code where you create the board over and over again should not be repeated. Do you need to hide the ship over and over again every turn? No, you just hide the ship once. So the part where you set the randomness over here, right? You figure out randomly where to place that. You don't need to worry about that part. Len of board, it should be like this actually. So this part does not need to be in a loop. Should the user be allowed to guess over and over again? Yes, they should. This print statement should not be here, should be above here. Okay, should the user be allowed to guess row and guess column again and again? Yes, they should, right? Also, after every guess, should we check if the guess is correct? Yes, we should. Should we check after every guess that it's within the boundaries? Yes, we should. Should we check every guess that that location has already been guessed at? Yes, we should. And should we, after every guess, should we, if the user missed, should we let them know you missed and mark that spot as X? Yes, we should. This means that this entire part of the code needs to be in a loop because it needs to happen over and over again. So what I'll say is for turn in range 4, okay, this means, and instead of saying for turn in range 4, I don't like that. I think while loop is, let me think about this. Both of them will work, but I don't want it to run for 4 times only, even if you guess. Like, I don't want it to run 4 times, only for 4 times, even if you guess outside of the boundaries. I think that if you guess outside of the boundaries, it should just not count it and let you move again. So I would like to propose a while loop. Let's see later how they do it, but I would like to propose a while loop. So I'll say, I'll create a variable called guesses, and I set it to 0. And then I will say that while guesses is less than 4, keep playing this game. And when should you decrement a guess? Here, the game should just end. So I will say break, right? Just break out of the loop. The game is over. So break is a command that would do it. Or what I can just do is make guesses is equal to 4 or something here. So that way, when the loop happens again, it'll say 4 is less than 4, and this will give you a false, and then the loop won't run. So those are 2 ways to do it. I'll put this in comments, and I'll just put a break here because it's a little easier to read. I don't encourage putting breaks a lot in code because usually when you're relying too much on this kind of thing like break, usually it means that there's something wrong with your logic, okay? And there is definitely a better way to overcome that. So don't use break as a crutch all the time. The only reason I'm using it here is because you guys haven't practiced enough with functions, and all of this game should really be a function. So instead of us printing this part out, we should be returning it, and then return automatically ends the program or that function, and therefore you don't need to write a break. But since we are just printing out congratulations, you sank my ship, I'm just gonna put a break here, okay? Because we're not dealing with functions here, because outside of a function, return does not work. Okay, just for you curious people, if I did return, it would say return outside of a function. Okay, and if I did define sum of a comma b, or let's not call function sum because sum is a predefined thing. So let's say sum of nums a comma b return. This does not give you an error because return is inside of a function. Anyways, let's keep going. So, all right, now let's go down here. Should I increase the number of guesses here? No, because I want the user to just play again without any penalties if they guess outside of the range, okay? But I do want to let them know, oops, that's not even in the ocean. All right, let's go here. If you've already guessed in that location, should the turn be taken from you? No, you should just be allowed to guess somewhere else. Because that would be annoying if you've already guessed in that spot and then you guess there again and it takes another turn. But if you missed a battleship, then definitely one turn should be counted. That turn should be counted. So here I can simply say guesses plus equals 1, which is a shorthand notation for incrementing the number of guesses. Or I can say guesses is equal to guesses plus 1. And if I run this, you will see, so it says you guessed that one already, right? Constantly, so stopping us. We already know the answer, but I won't guess 2-1 for now. I'll just guess 3 and 1. It says you missed my battleship. If I said 3-1, it says you guessed that one already. 3-1 is right here. And if I say 4-4, it's gonna say you've guessed that one already. 4-4. Now let's do 4-3. Oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't even make sense. It's out of the index, so it should have given us an error. Okay, so what did we do wrong here? This should be an or, not an and. That's wrong. Yes. That should definitely be an or, because only one of these has to be true. Because what happened here is it went 43 and 4. Or actually, yeah, only one of these has to be false, okay? So let's run it again. If I try 43 and 4 now, it should not give me an error. Okay? So in that one, both of them have to be false. In this one, only one of them has to be false. So that's why you have an or, which is helpful. And then it goes in here and then checks it and prints it out. Okay. Okay, I'll guess 4-4. If I guess 4-4 again, it says you guessed that already. 4-4 is right there. Whoops, right there. I can do 4-3. I can do 4-2. I can do 4-1. And you can see that I've guessed 4 tries, and now the program has stopped running automatically. So great, we are really close. Now at the end, I would just want to say something like, hey, if guesses, something like just checks, if guesses is 4, then I want you to say that, hey, the game is over and you never guessed anything correctly and you suck. No, that would be evil. I don't want to say that, but I can definitely say, hey, you guessed it incorrectly and you've run out of turns. Something simple right there, right? If guesses is equal to 4, print game is over. You have run out of turns. Okay, so if we play this game now and I go so this time it didn't give me an error, right? It goes, oops, that's not even in the ocean, which means I just get to play again. That's nice. 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, and it goes, game is over, you have run out of turns. I think that's a complete game, but let's see what they say. Add a for loop, at the beginning of each iteration, print turn plus 1 to let the player know what turn they are on. Okay, so they're having us do this in a really odd way, I would say. And okay, let's keep going through it. So let's put all of this in a loop. Okay, what are the parts that we want in a loop? We definitely don't want it randomized every time. We don't want it to have print the answer every single time. Okay, they're also giving you a nice little note. Everything from here should go on in your for loop, right? So we should say for turn in range 4. And effectively what they want to do is just print out the turn you're on. That should be the last part of the statement, the entire code here. So, wow, this is, okay. So I should say print, what should I say? Print turn plus 1, okay? Which means that the first time it's 0, so you don't want it to tell you turn 0. That doesn't make sense. So it's whatever turn it's on, it just should increment it by 1, as simple as that. Because this range here, right, turn is going to be going through this range. First time turn is going to be 0, then it's going to be 1, then it's going to be 2, then it's going to be 3. What you want it to say the first time it prints it out is 1, 2, 3, and then 4. That's why you're just adding that plus 1, okay? Bueno, let's keep going. Your code looks a bit off. Check the hint if you need help. Invalid literal for int with base 10. What line is the code error coming from? Line 31. What is the, because I gave it an empty thing, so it gave me an error. Okay. 4-3, 4-4, 4-3, and okay, that worked. But clearly you can see that the game is flawed. It did not stop you and say, hey, you guessed that one already. Game over. If someone runs out of guesses without winning right now, the game just exits. It would be nice to let them know why. So we'll want to put it under the else that counts for misses. So I don't like how their logic is laid out. I like my logic much better. Much easier to read. It's not like nested else's underneath each other. Right? Who nests an if statement? Who nests, yeah, like an if statement under an else, which is under an if? What the heck? Yeah, this is weird. Okay, so we'll want to put it under the else that accounts for misses. What is the else that accounts for misses? So this is the else that I see that accounts for misses, right here. Just in case you guys got confused with this line, it just means if guess row is between 0 and 4, and then this part means if guess column is between 0 and 4, or here, right? Which is the same thing as guess row not in range 5 or guess col not in range 5. But my way of writing it is better and more readable, and you guys should follow that rather than this weird, obscure way. Okay. We'll want to print the message no matter what the cause of the miss. We'll want to put it under the else that accounts for misses. Since our return variable starts at 0 and goes to 3, we will want to end the game when turn equals 3. Okay, that makes sense. Add an if statement that checks if the user is out of guesses. Okay, so put it under the else that accounts for misses. Put it after the if else statements to check for the reason the player missed. We want game over to print regardless of the reason. If turn equals 3, print game over. Okay, simple enough. If turn equal 3, print game over, right? So let's play the game again. It's 2 and 4. If I guess it, obviously the game ends. I found it, but I won't do that. I would say 4-4. Then I will say 4-3. And then I will say 4-2. And then I will say 4-1. And it says game over right there. Okay? Simple. Start next lesson. Almost there. We can play Battleship, but you'll notice that when you win, if you haven't already guessed 4 times, the program asks you to enter another guess. What we'd rather have happen is for the program to end. It's no fun guessing if you know you've already sunk the ship. So what is happening currently is even if you got it right, the program keeps running. However, in ours, you can see that we put a break here. So if we guess it 4-3, the program ends, right? Ours, the one we made together, is way more intelligent and more readable. Okay. But what we'd rather have is, okay, we can use a command break to get out of a for loop. You can call me Mystic Mac, right? Add a break under the when condition to end the loop after a when. Okay, add a break under the when condition. Where is the when condition? When condition is right here, and add a break, right? Break. Boom, done. It's just hard to read because it's like so congested, and they don't let you like. What I want to be able to do is squeeze the code and give it more width so you can read the code properly. It's kind of annoying how it is because the lines are running across and all kinds of weird stuff. Okay, so now if you guess correctly, it says, congratulations, you sunk my battleship. To your battle stations, congratulations, you have finally... I'm sorry, let me read that again, I messed it up. You have a fully functional battleship game. Play it a couple of times and get your friends to try it out too. Don't forget to go back and remove the debugging output that gives away the location. So what does that mean? Where are we printing it out? Delete line 23 and 24, right? Because you don't want them to know where the hidden ship is. You may want to take some time to clean up and document your code as well. Again, guys, we did it beautifully. Look at that. We documented our code. This checks if you guess correctly. This checks blah, blah, blah. This checks blah, blah. And here we can say this checks if you have run out of guesses. So this means that you have documented your code and we've cleaned it up. So this is a version that you guys should use. Let's say share. And then let's do, I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna share. Let's save it. I guess you can get it at that link. But let me see what happens if I refresh. Or I go, yeah, so I guess if I don't change this exact link, you should be able to get access to this very link. Now let me check if, let me check if that one too is still a link that's there. Okay, beautiful. Enjoy. The full game is right there for your use, and you can run it right here in this replit. Enjoy, kids. No. Enjoy, clever programmers. Or call you, because you're one person when you're going to be playing it. So enjoy, clever programmer. You're very smart for using this link. It will live on. All right. When you are done playing Battleship and are ready to move on, click Save and Submit Code. Save and submit code. Okay, we guessed it wrong. Let's see if we can win against them. Oh, I'm sorry, I guessed it wrong. It didn't give me an error, so that's okay. No, I missed the ship. So these are my guesses, X, 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 X. But looks like I missed the ship. One fun feature you should add at the end is maybe at the end, once the game is over, reveal the position where it was stored. I think that's a little bit more fun, to be honest. Extra credit. You can also add on to your Battleship program. Battleship program to make it more complex and fun to play. Here are some ideas for enhancements. Maybe you can think of some more. Make multiple battleships. You'll need to be careful because you need to make sure that you don't place battleships on top of each other on the game board. You'll also want to make sure that you balance the size of the board with the number of ships so the game is still challenging and fun to play. So point 1, multiple battleships. What if I can hide 3 or 4 battleships, right? That will be fun. So right now it's a 5x5 grid. If you put 25 ships, well, it's not going to be very hard to play, right? Where did I get 25 from? 5x5, that gives you 25. That means that on the grid there are 25 squares. So if you pick 25 ships, now the game is going to be real easy because every guess is going to guess a ship and sink it down. So what they're saying is that, hey, if you want to pick more ships, then maybe have a bigger board, so it's still challenging. Got it? Cool. Point 2, make battleships of different sizes. This is trickier than it sounds. So maybe a battleship can, row column 2 and 2, and a row column 3, or row 2 and maybe column. I'm confusing you guys. Let's just look at a board. So you can have a ship hidden here and here. It can be a ship of length 2. So it can be in row 0, column 2, and row 1, column 2. Okay? You can have a vertical ship, or you can have a horizontal ship that is placed this way. Maybe it can be of length 3. Maybe you can have multiple ships of different sizes. In real Battleship, one of your ships is pretty long, like 5 or 4 spaces. Other ones are 3, and some are like 1. So that would make the game more fun, but also a lot more challenging, right? A lot more difficult to kind of code. Need to be vertically or horizontally touching, and you'll need to make sure you don't accidentally place part of a ship off of the side of the board, meaning you don't place a ship like here and then like to 1 square to the right of it, which doesn't exist. Make your game a 2-player game. So make it a 2-player game. That's another thing that you can do. And so basically both people maybe get to put a ship, and then one guy takes a turn, and then the other guy takes a turn, so on and so forth. Use functions to allow your games to have more features like rematches, statistics, and more. Cool. So you can click like rematch and the game starts again, and then it prints out statistics like, Johnny ship synced Bob's. My names are terrible, but okay. Johnny synced Bob's ships, right? Johnny synced 3 of Bob's ships in like the last 2 games, and Bob's ship synced 7 of Johnny's ships in the last 2 games, or whatever. And who won how many games, and what's the average games that this person has won against him, and whatever. You guys get the idea. Some of these options will be easier after we cover loops in the next lesson. Think about coming back to Battleship after a few more lessons and see what other changes you can make. So, great job so far, everybody. I'm going to save and submit. We have gotten the badge, Battleship. Let's hit next. We've finished this course. Let's go back to the course page. If you guys are interested, leave in the comments below maybe if you want to see how to make that Battleship game, and then we can definitely walk through it and make it. But it's extra credit, so I'm going to skip it for now, and we're going to go on to loops. Loops are amazing. You guys know I already love them, and they want you to do specifically loops here, while loops, for loops, and then they're going to give us a lot more practice. So that's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. Great job, everybody, for making it here so far. If you like this video, please go like it, and otherwise, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Other than that, this is Codecademy Python Part 19, and I will see you in the next video, Codecademy Python tutorial number 20. All right, everybody, take care, and I'll see you there.